Talk Radio.
Welcome to Awake to Oneness Radio. I am Caroline Cheng, your host. The mission of Awake to Oneness Radio is to inspire the world to awaken to the universal truth of oneness. Science is teaching us that all life is connected, and ancient wisdom and spirituality has been teaching us this for eons, that we are all one. What you do to another person, you are literally doing to another aspect of yourself. And when mankind awakens to the truth of oneness, there will be peace on earth. Today's show topic is Gathering of Love with Mary Cook Nadler. Mary is a modern-day mystic, and we like to welcome Mary to Awake to Oneness Radio. Welcome, Mary, to Awake to Oneness.
Hi, Caroline. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Please, this show, my show is very informal, and I like to just have a conversation in the moment with each guest, and I like you to share. I love for my guests to share their awakening experience with the listeners, because each experience is different and unique. So can you please share with our listeners your journey to awakening?
Oh, I'm delighted to do so. Well, it's an interesting story. Back in 93, I was just living a great life. I was in the world, and I was doing a lot of traveling. I had the great good fortune of retiring early, and so I had this, what I thought was just an idyllic life out in the country, and loved music, traveled around the country, going to different venues, and really enjoying myself. Then these visions, I started having these visions, of a yogi. And Caroline, keep in mind that I was brought up very strict Christian, and I have no idea what a yogi was. I mean, of course, you kind of knew, but not really. You know, you had seen, maybe images on books in the bookstore, this kind of thing. And so this man, this yogi, started appearing to me. And it was a number of weeks that went by that he would appear to me, and he'd make his face, just huge, 4 feet by, 4 feet, and he would just smile and smile and smile at me. And you just knew from the feeling level that he was a beautiful being. And, of course, I knew nothing about beings back then or awakening, nothing at all. So a few weeks went by, and then one day I was just sitting, and he appeared to me more physically. And there was a being behind him floating in the air behind him. And this bolt of lightning came down from the heavens, and it was so powerful. It just smacked me down the top of my head, came down through my spine, and my whole body started shaking. Centers throughout my body, energy centers that give you, different feelings and different knowings and different awakenings on different level opened up. And I, as a result of that awakening, was a massive Kundalini Shakti awakening, and also it was awakening of remembering who I am, who I have been, and these beings kept coming to me, these great masters kept coming to me for about a 2-year time period. And they taught me many things. They taught me how to awaken people. They taught me about my past. We did some different kinds of planetary work together. And it was an extraordinary experience because I really couldn't have functioned out in the world during those two years. I sat and thought a lot about it. You know what I mean? When they would come and go, and then they gave me meditation techniques, and so after that, after a couple of years, and they felt complete with that part of the process, then I was free to go and move around. You know, I was always free to go and move around. I just didn't want to. I wanted to be with them. And so, you know, I was so called to meet a direct disciple of one of the masters, the first master that was always smiling at me. That is Paramahansa Yogananda, and he wrote the book Autobiography of a Yogi. And I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but it's a huge bestseller in like 40 languages around the world.
There's a documentary. There's a documentary I saw recently. Is that the one? Yes, Awake?
That's him.
Okay.
Yes, Awake.
Yes. So
that's Paramahansa.
Yes, I've seen the documentary. Yes.
Good. So you know who I'm speaking of, and then the other master that was with him was Babaji, Maha Avatar Babaji, and this is an eternal mortal being, and they came and went for a couple of years. And other masters came and went, and it was a magnificent experience, and of course, you know, changed my life forever. And so then I sought out different masters in the physical to be with for about 9 years, and I would go and sit at all the feet of all the divine mothers in the world in physical form. I don't know if you're familiar with Amachi or Krunamayi or any of these, the Hindu divine mothers. There's Mother Mira. Sometimes people have heard of her. Anyway, so I spent 9 years traveling around the world seeking them out. And I did that, and I just watched how they awakened people, and I was with them, and, my healing process took place, releasing layers of consciousness from the old way of living, awakening. I met a direct disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda. His name was Bob Raymer. He's since passed away. And he gave me Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is a powerful breath technique. And he did many other things for me, too. Just a beautiful, beautiful man. And so I spent some time with him. And I traveled around searching out the divine mothers because I was so drawn to the divine feminine, just incredibly drawn to be with these incredibly evolved beings. So I did that. Let's see, what else about my journey? At one point, I had a near-death experience, which was pretty fascinating. And it's constant shifts and changes in consciousness. And what I do in my work now with people is I awaken the participants of my seminars, who are my beautiful friends as well. I take them into higher states of consciousness. I awaken them into this greater oneness of life. And so they can know themselves as pure love. Because as I read a little bit on your website about your journey, and at a certain point, all you can feel is love. All you can speak is love. You're just saturated with this amazing consciousness of pure love. So that's what I do in my seminars with people. I open them up. I remove the veils from the human consciousness that limit them and expand them into higher states of consciousness of the great oneness of life. It's not a mental construct at all. It's an inner knowing. It is a palpable experience, a direct experience to the divine, to God, to oneness. And that's what I love to do, and that's what I enjoy to do. And
when did you start? Like you said, when you first had the visions, you kind of stayed at home for about 2 years and was learning, and then you traveled for a while. So when did you actually start? When did you feel like you could actually go out and do this work?
When I began to do this work, it was about 10 years or so after my awakening. So I did a trip to Australia, and I taught in Melbourne, Sydney, and Byron Bay. And I spent about 6 weeks there teaching. I came back, and people were all excited, and they got me set up on the East Coast, and I did these seminars. But, you know, it was so new to me. I didn't know about boundaries with people. I just wanted to give and give and give. And so after that year of doing that, I kind of pulled back and went inside and just went into meditation for about a year and did that. So, you know, then I started doing the work I'm doing. I took 5 years off at a certain point to take care of my husband's mother and my mother before my mother passed and before his mother went into a home. And so it's been a constant 5 years teaching now and awakening people. That's how that went, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I kind of, like on this show, I say it a lot, that what I feel like what I do, like even in my introduction, what I can do is inspire others to awaken. I think the awakening comes from within each of us, because I think we all awaken uniquely differently. Like some things can really resonate with a group of people, but other, you know, that same thing that, like, for me, it was what the bleep, you know, which I share this story with people all the time. It was just one sentence in a science documentary that woke me up to the truth of oneness. And it wasn't an intellectual thing. It wasn't like I understood oneness on an intellectual level. It was something inside of me woke up to the truth of who we truly are, which is divine aspects of God. We're all connected. We're all one. And there was just, you know, and that was because after I awoke to the truth of oneness, I tried to share it with friends. And I was like, here, you got to watch this documentary. And they were like, huh, we don't get it, you know. So so in your seminars, in your workshops, I mean, you have like a room full of uniquely divine people. They're all divine. Yes. They all can tap into that truth within. But it's always, for me, I think it's so different for each person. That's what I just find from my experience. So can you share more on, you know, how people can, you know, kind of tap into that wonderful divine being that's inside all of us?
Absolutely. There's so many ways people awaken. Some people just sit and do breath work, and something shifts within them, you know, and they awaken to their true nature, you know, on a certain level, you know, and people, you know, can, I mean, it's endless, you know. Yours is what the bleep. Mine was a great master's coming to me. Right. It's all different, you know, and so what I do in seminars is I simply invite people to become their true self. And I do this with the divine light transmission that gives them that powerful radiance which goes deeply into their heart and opens their heart and awakens them into this more expanded state of consciousness, and they see the truth of who they are. That's the way I do it. Yeah, and I'll be happy to do that in another 5-10 minutes. Just bring in some blessings for people, for oneness blessings for everyone. Yes.
For me, the oneness is so key. That's why, like, Spirit guided me to start this show 2 years ago, and Spirit gave me the title Awake to Oneness. It was because I was thinking I wanted the title to really speak of what the show is all about. And for me, oneness is so key to our awakening as human beings, as humanity, because to understand the simple truth of oneness, that we are literally all connected. I mean, science has been teaching this really for over 100 years. It's not even new science, but it's not mainstream science, and that's kind of, why not? Why isn't what was being taught and what to believe? That should be taught in 7th, 8th grade science class. Why is it, kind of being veiled or hidden from mainstream society? But I do believe that mankind is truly, slowly but surely, especially with the internet and alternative media, because if you listen to what's just on the news or in mainstream media, you don't get this information. And but it's very interesting how when a person kind of quiets their mind, like you said, doing breath work, and actually, I can tell you, I don't meditate as often as I'd like. I tell myself I want to meditate every day for even 15, 20 minutes, and I don't always do it because it's not always easy for me to sit still and quiet my mind. But the breath, like you said, the breath work, that's big with me when I feel myself, feeling out of sorts, not in alignment with my higher self. I sit quietly and I start to deep breathe. That's what really helps with me. Yes.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, that helps to awaken, and then you go through a process of, getting rid of all of the programming, conditioning, anything and everything that's in duality within your consciousness, and you arrive at a wonderful place. And if we're doing it individually, we have to sit back and look at a planetary level where that is happening in consciousness right now. So, as you awakened and I read, your beautiful life story that you share with the world on your website, and what your beautiful beloved son, brought to you with that awakening. He was your awakening process, and what he did by taking himself off life support. I mean, what an amazing soul, right? I mean, he and then you were with him, and then you were guided to do this radio show, and so you're helping mankind awaken with what you're doing, and everybody, like you say, is doing it in their own way. And when I look at the world, I don't get caught in the news or anything like that, because I know that there's so many people awakening on the planet right now, and when we are awake, we do things like create radio shows, webinars, seminars, all these wonderful things to awaken others, because it's sort of our job, because our brothers and sisters on the planet are all awakening. They're struggling. I don't know about you, but when I went through and was clearing, layers and layers of stuff, it was painful. So all these folks out in collective consciousness are going through an incredibly painful process. So we're being called, and this is what we do on a daily basis. All of us, all the listeners, all of your listeners right now, you're radiating this extraordinary light to add to the light quotient of the world. You talked about science a little bit. I did a radio show a couple of weeks ago, beautiful woman, Lauren Gailey, and she talked about a Schumann resonance, which is increasing, from like 16 a few years ago to 90 hertz now. So it's happening. Science is measuring it. We know it's happening, and I love your theme. I love that Spirit gave you that name, Awakening to Oneness. It's beautiful. I was really drawn to it, when I saw that, and I really wanted to be on your show. So I'm so happy to be here with you and with all of your listeners.
Yes, yes, it's so true, and you did that's so true what you said about when you awaken, the first thing you want to do is share it with others and help to awaken others. Because like the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted all my friends to watch What the Bleep, and some of them did. Some of them did, but it didn't have the same effect on them as it had on me. But so yeah, I had to, and then I had to at that point I had to learn. Well, you know what? Everybody has their own path and their own journey to awakening. So this happened to be mine. It just may not be theirs. But it's like my mission now in life is just to help awaken the world, and it's so true. Everything is speeding up. The planet Gaia is raising her vibration, and we are a part of Gaia. So if her vibration is raising, our vibration is raising, and it's at the point where, that it's happening. It's truly happening. And as far as the mainstream media news, Spirit told me. Now I don't hear Spirit audibly. I just hear it's an inner knowing with me. But Spirit told me a week or so after 9/11 in 2001 to turn off the news and don't ever turn it back on. I mean, it was an inner knowing. This is what Spirit was telling me to do. And at that time, I wasn't awake to oneness. I wasn't awake to a lot of things. I didn't understand why is Spirit telling me to shut off the news and don't ever turn it back on. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be obedient, and I did. And I didn't know until years later why Spirit told me that, and I was so glad I was obedient to Spirit. And I haven't watched mainstream news since September 2001. And then people will say, well, how do you know what's going on in the world? I know what's going on in the world. Believe me, I do. What news that I should have, whatever I need, I have in every now moment. Spirit will, bring it to my attention, whatever needs to be brought to my attention. So I don't have to worry about watching, mainstream news to know what's going on in the world. Yes.
Excellent. Wonderful. So how about if I bring in a oneness blessing for everyone?
That would be amazing. That's wonderful.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. And this is something that I was given. It's a living light blessing, actually, and it takes you into a great expanded state of oneness. And this will be about 15, 20 minutes for all the listeners. So please get comfortable and begin to relax. And with every breath you take, your muscles begin to relax. Your mind quiets. Feelings smooth out. And allow your breath to move you. Allow your body to be breathed. Taking several long, slow, deep breaths from your abdomen, you become aware of the energy in your body. As the mind quiets, you become aware of the present moment. And I invite an alignment of oneness that will flow down through consciousness, flowing down into your soul, coming down into your physical body. you'll feel a blessing coming in that aligns you from the collective to a unified field of consciousness, which is this great, grand oneness of all of creation, of all of life. Relax and enjoy this blessing of oneness, the living light blessing that flows into your consciousness. This divine light transmission dissolves struggles, suffering, pain that you may be dealing with right now in your lower consciousness. And allow this blessing to flow down into you, through you, and to begin to radiate out through your body. And by bridging heaven and earth and expanding into this great oneness of life, we add to the light in the world. If you'd like to, expand beyond the physical. Expand above your body and out beyond your body. At first, it can be a little bit tricky for some folks. Others just expand and expand out into this ocean of consciousness, the great oneness of life that's within you and outside of you. It's in everything because it has created everything. This vast ocean of oneness, this boundless consciousness of life, of love, pure, exquisite love. And allow that deep peace to flow into you. Allow the inner awakening where you have the realization of this unity with higher consciousness. Higher consciousness means a lot of different things to a lot of people. Higher consciousness is out of duality, out of that feeling of separation from Source. Allowing yourself to float in consciousness in this expanded state, this great oneness of life. Om, peace, amen. Thank you so much, Caroline, for allowing me to do that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for blessing us with that. That is, so remember I said that I tried to meditate every day, and I didn't get to meditate today, so that was my daily meditation for the day. Well, thank you, and I needed it very much so. Very much so. Now, you had mentioned, which is so true, that our brothers and sisters that are, still kind of trying to awaken, and there's so much struggle and strife still within. And can you share some maybe tips with the listeners that you were blessed to have the experience of having direct communication with yogis from the spirit realm, and not everybody has that experience. And for myself, my awakening was with a film, but well, when I say awakening, what inspired me to awaken was a film. But people that are really struggling, what tips can you share with them as to help them deal with everyday life?
I think it comes down to sitting quietly, like we just did for that 10 minutes, and placing your awareness on your breath. I think it's one of the most powerful ways of dissolving the anxiety that people are expressing out in the world. And that's what, I love to do breath work. I think that's it. I think unity with your eternal soul is really what people are here doing on the earth. But to simply sit quietly, do a blessing, I'm so fortunate to have such a great community that's grown up around me, and the people do teleconference calls every night, free teleconference calls of Living Light Blessings. Your listeners could call into those and just receive this enormous feeling of peace, and to awaken that to the knowing that we are not in charge. So I think if we take that out of the equation, that we can surrender a little more to what is, to simply accept, in life what shows up. Tough things happen in life, hurtful things happen, and if we just can show up, accept what's happening with as much grace as possible, and continually do that, we learn so much from that. We grow from that. We awaken to a certain level of consciousness with that. And I tell you, I think it's, accepting and allowing and just continually coming back to your beautiful heart. Everyone, we're made from the same material. The fabric of our being is pure love. If we can somehow find that place within us and make that home and go back to that place when something in the world upsets us, if we can just give ourselves that, then we can, steady the sail, so to speak, in the ocean of turmoil, and we can just continue on with our journey. If we can come to the place and make peace with everything that has happened in our life, anything we've ever done to anyone, anything that we feel has been, quote unquote, done to us, if we can just accept that everything has happened just the way it was supposed to, because when you awaken to oneness, that. That is just, it becomes, that is the fabric of your being, that you just know that everything that has occurred, no matter how tough or how beautiful, it had to happen just that way. You can let go of all that suffering that everyone's experienced, what people are carrying inside their bodies from, because it registers, everything's energy. So if we feel bad for a year or two about a certain event, that registers in the cells of our body. At a certain point, the divine light comes in and washes it away, so we're free of it. So if we know that, and if we look out into consciousness, into what everyone's doing, and we think, oh my goodness, that's this, that's that, that's the other thing. But if we can accept, it's a big one, it's a huge one, to accept everything that's happening is supposed to happen that way. because there's universal laws that govern all of our planet. Right now, for example, there's a universal law of gravity that's working, right? And it's keeping us, on the earth. So there's universal laws of cause and effect, that for every action there is a reaction. So, it's and to stay steady. And to know that this presence of oneness, this divine presence, whatever your words are, the I am, the infinite God, loves you. That you are being looked after and cared for. The masters from the 12th dimension or greater that awakened me. I mean, they love us. There's millions upon millions upon millions of them. They love us. And they are steadying the course of mankind. But karma's karma. It has to play out. Things happen in the world, and that's what I'd say. If we can accept these higher truths and come to peace with them and own them as our own truths and become one with them, then we live an easier, happier, more grace-filled life.
Right. Well, I hear you, because what I understand and know is that just a small portion of who I truly am is here in this embodiment. The larger part of me, what I call my higher self that knows all, is orchestrating the events in my life, which really, it's part of me. It's not separate from me. So in truth, I'm orchestrating the events. So when they come up, I remind myself that I created this, and I created it for my highest good. So whatever shows up, whatever shows up, I own it. I own it. I say, I created this. Nobody's doing anything to me. I am the master of my universe, the world that I'm creating, that I experience. And I'm doing it from my higher self and my lower self, which are one. They're not separate. Just higher self knows all. Lower self is limited in its knowing.
It's learning.
But yes, it's learning. Right. It's awakening. It's awakening and remembering. Yes. But so when something occurs in my reality that's not as pleasant as I would like it to be, the first thing I say to myself is, I created this for my highest good. I may not, on a human conscious level, know why, the why of it, but I don't have to know the why of it. I know it's for my highest good. And so to like you said, I don't even like to use the word accept. I like to use the word more allow what is and love what is. And love what Matt Kahn, love what arises, and Byron Katie, love what is. And so I embrace it, embrace life to the fullest, and know that it's happening for your highest good. And it is a difficult pill, I guess, to swallow for people, because people are so used to blaming every thing, their parents, their the teachers, somebody to blame, their boss, somebody to point to figure out why they're unhappy. But when you own what's happening, then it's actually, to me, very freeing. It's very empowering, and when I understood that, I understood the peace that surpasses all understanding. So I can remain at peace regardless of what's happening. When my son eventually did transition, I was at peace. At the moment of his transition, I was at peace, because I understood from the higher level that his soul, this was his soul's purpose, his soul, we all leave here from our higher self. We all know when we choose when to come, and we choose when to leave this experience, but he's not gone. And I knew that he wasn't gone. He was, he's completed his soul plan for that moment, but it was a soul plan and a soul agreement that he and I had made before my coming to this embodiment. So I knew this. So I was at peace, and I knew that he wasn't really gone. He was just not in the physical anymore, but he wasn't gone. He isn't gone. Yeah.
Not at all. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. So it is to be awake. See, that's why this show came into existence, because I feel like when people do awaken to the truth, to universal truth of who they are, and the universal truth of this reality, which is not even science. I'll never forget 7th grade science class. When we were studying molecules and atoms, the science teacher said in 7th grade, nothing is truly solid. Like that was like, yeah. I'm like, what does he mean? Nothing is. Isn't this chair solid I'm sitting on? No, you put anything under a microscope. What do you see? You see moving, and it's alive. Everything has life. It's all energy, and it's moving. It's not solid matter like we perceive it. That's just from our limited perspective. Things are solid. But this is not. This is a dream world that we are creating. And what we are experiencing is truly we're projecting. And it's a lot of, because people will say, well, I wouldn't, project this kind of life. But in truth, you are, like you said, it's a combination of lifetimes. And karma is not a bad thing. People say karma, and most people think of it as a negative, but it's actually not. All karma is balancing. That's all it is. The universe and God, or all that is, has no judgment. There's no bad or good, right or wrong. It just is. And we label it bad, good, right, wrong. But there's a balancing, and we do the balancing. Like when we leave this experience, we look at it, we review this life, and we're like, oh, I could have done that better, I could have done that better. And we decide, it's us that says, okay, I want to go back and try to do that better. I want to, kind of balance out what I did, in the previous lifetime. So, and that's all our choice. So it's all karma is a balancing, and it's not a negative. Because for me, I try not to even use the word right or wrong, or bad or good. It's all frequency, and some things are low frequency or high frequency. You're usually a more enjoyable experience comes from high frequency. A less enjoyable experience comes from low frequency. But everything is vibration and energy and frequency. So that's kind of so, and it's so beautiful. The times we're living in are amazing. Because, like you said, the speeding up, like you mentioned the numbers, and I've heard this recently, and I haven't had a chance to look it up on Google. I love Google. But the vibration of the planet, of Gaia, has increased like 90% or something like that.
No, sweetheart. No, not 90%. It's on a meter called the Schumann resonance,
okay.
and it's gone from 16 hertz to 90 hertz over the last few years, and that has a lot to do with solar flare activity and of course, people that are actually really awakening to the higher dimensions and bringing that light from the higher dimensions down into the earth plane. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
That's how that's working.
Yes. So I did hear about that recently, and I haven't had a chance to actually just go online and look up the research. But it's basically, I understand that the earth, Gaia, is rising in frequency, so that we being a part of Gaia, we're all rising in frequency, and everywhere you look, you can kind of see it if you're not looking at mainstream news. But but it's definitely a shift. A shift is occurring,
yes,
and it's a
true.
beautiful thing. So please, Mary, share with our listeners how they can get in contact with you, how they can maybe find your seminars and your seminars and your workshops and be a part of them. Please share that with our listeners.
Happily. My website is mastersway.us. And just go and take a look at my website. We have a lot of things happening each month, 5 or 6 events, and then the Living Light community. Pretty much every evening we have people blessing others, via teleconference. People call in and bring in these tremendous Living Light blessings that actually bring in the light from the higher dimensions. And when that light comes down and the veils of consciousness get removed and the light comes in and that awakening, a true awakening occurs, it's an extraordinary experience for everyone. And I get such tremendous feedback, and I'm thrilled about it. I'm so happy to be part of this awakening, this planetary awakening. Thank you.
Yes. So someone can come to your site and they can find these telesummit events that you said almost nightly?
Yes, well, I do different offerings throughout the month, and I do one free event. I do a range of events from a 1-hour call to 2-day seminars, and this last one, that was so tremendous that people were awakening into a self-realized state of consciousness, and it was quite extraordinary, and I'm just so thankful for it. And the people that I have trained, they do blessings every night, and there's a link on there. You can contact Hank Pearson, and he'll send you a schedule, and it's a beautiful experience. Yes.
Oh, wonderful! It sounds amazing. So, and you do 4 or 5 events monthly. That's a lot. So your next event is, you're a busy lady.
I am. Sunday I do an Ascension group. It's a 3-hour afternoon event. I may do some personal work. It just depends what I feel called to do. And, and we do it via webinar, teleconference, and in person at the Montreat Conference Center outside of Asheville, North Carolina. It's beautiful. So, feel very blessed.
Yes, beautiful. Okay, so are most of the retreats online retreat, or how often do you have like a in-person retreat?
Typically monthly. I have 3 or 4, about 3 events a month in person, and then 3 events over the phone. Or webinar, teleconference.
Okay, beautiful. In North Carolina, not too far. You're on the East Coast. I wasn't sure, East Coast, West Coast. I knew you were in the U.S., but I wasn't sure where. So you're same time zone, East Coast. I'm in the Poconos. I love it here.
Oh, beautiful. Wow.
Yes.
Wonderful.
In the mountains. Yes. So this is amazing that you are do so much to help awaken and raise the vibration, because each time a person awakens to who they really are, it just raises, because we're all connected. So it awakens the whole world each time one person awakens. Very
right.
True. Yes. So, could you tell us a little bit more about, once you started doing the seminars, can you share, like, you mentioned that you almost had a near-death experience, but you didn't go into detail. Maybe can you share that with us?
Sure, I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, after, yes, when was that? Let me think about that for a moment. That had to be, oh my goodness, back in 2005, and I just had this tremendous pain in my body, and I couldn't take it, and I zipped right out of my body and went into this higher dimension, and the feeling was so amazing and so beautiful, and there was these two massive golden light beings that were standing there, and they said, it's not your time, go back into your body. And I said, well, since I'm here, why don't I look around? And they said, but only, by psychological time, only a minute or two. And I said, okay, I just want to see. And so they let me walk down. It was just these. How to describe it to the mental body, a little challenging, but I'll give it a go. It was universe upon universe upon universe intersecting itself, dimension upon dimension upon dimension intersecting. And when I walked down this one corridor, we'll call it, I walked down and I saw all these levels of consciousness intersecting themselves. But what I saw within each one were these just vast millions of souls gathered. And it was incredible. And in front of each soul was like an angelic Davic being. And they were taking their hands of light and just washing the illness out of these beautiful souls that had passed from the earth. And they were just washing and washing and washing them. And I just hung out with that for however long, I did. And I just, every time I peered down in one dimension, another dimension opened up, and the same thing was happening throughout creation. And it was magnificent. And so I think, I just sort of bowed and turned around and then went back another way. And then all of a sudden the same thing happened. This universal experience happened where I saw dimension upon dimension, universe upon universe intersecting each other. And I saw these vast schoolrooms, like classrooms, and these masters, like the master, beloved Jesus. I mean, the masters I spent those 2 years with, they were there, and millions upon millions upon millions of souls were in these classrooms, and they were being taught by these great ones, and tuning them into what it was that they didn't get, like you talk about the balancing. That's part of the balancing, the karmic balancing, karmic, dharmic, doesn't matter. The words, are really not important. But and they were teaching these souls what they needed to learn for their next incarnation. And so I hung out there for just a short time period because I could tell I needed to get back into my body on the earth plane. And there's more to it, but that's sort of a short summary. And then I came back and I bowed to these great beings, and I zipped down. It was like a wormhole. I just zipped down through the universe and came back into my body. And it took me about 6 months to fully recover. And of course that was another awakening. There's not just one awakening and you've got it. That's silly. It's a continual everyday awakening, expansion of light. I wake up as a different being every morning, and, more radiant, more giving, more loving, and more ecstatic to be one with God, with the divine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's so true.
Good.
That's so true. The awakening is, for me, I say it's a moment to moment. It's like every moment I have to just remind myself, because sometimes, still being here, the illusion can sometimes, you can allow it to get to you in a sense. And so you have to remind.
Well, not if you're fully awakened. Yeah, it doesn't really do that. Yeah, you get beyond the illusion.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is not that it gets to you to the point where you're immersed in the sorrow or the misery or but you sometimes you get anxious that you want everybody to awaken and that there be peace on earth like now, and it is actually, because there's only now. But
But Caroline, when you have that awakened state, though, you know everything's in perfect divine order, you know, and that the whole world can awaken, you know, So that's what we're doing. Your radio show, my seminars, you know, and you just, you know, that perfect understanding comes and you just have a good time. That's my experience, you know. Which I know you do too. I can hear it in your voice.
Yes. This is true. This is true. Very, very true. That, yes, knowing that I was just saying that to myself today, that all is in perfect divine order all the time. There's nothing ever not in divine order. So this is so, so true. Yes, very, very true. Yes. So this has been so, so lovely. I definitely want to. Now, where you said you're in North Carolina. I was actually in North Carolina. I was in North Carolina in February. I have a niece in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Very sweet.
Yeah. So where are you located? Because when I go down that way, I'm going to look you up.
I'm in Asheville. Oh, that'd be lovely. Asheville?
When you say Asheville, right?
Yes.
Are you
Asheville, North Carolina? I am. Not Nashville, Tennessee. Asheville, North Carolina. They call it the Paris of the South. It's an incredibly cosmopolitan, small city located in exquisite mountains. I mean, these are actually the second oldest mountain range in the world, and it has such a divine quality to it. I love living here. I am having the best time of my life.
Oh, wow. I love the mountains too. I'm in the Pocono Mountains, and I'm not sure how old they are, but I've been here for 26 years. But I love the mountains and lakes. I can sit by the lake all day and just meditate and watch the water ripple, and I just love it. I love being close to nature. I've never been one to I can visit a city, you know, for a minute or two, but I can never live in a city. I'm a mountain girl, country mountain girl, kind of like you. We're kind of the same.
I love it. You know, I love being here. And another cool thing, you'd love it too, Caroline, because the ocean is 4 hours away.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be doing an oceanside retreat at the end of May, and we go down about 45 minutes south of Charleston, and it's a beautiful little island where there's been 80 years of prayer on the island, and we stay at this beautiful resort, and it happens to be where the dolphins breed. So there's you see 40, 50 dolphins sometimes a day, sometimes not as many, but sometimes you see a number of them, and it's amazing. You would just love it, you know.
I will. Now, where is that located? Where is that again? What?
South of Charleston.
Island. Charleston?
Well, there's a lot of little islands up and down the coast, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can email me and get me that I'll give you that information, you know.
Okay, great. Because I love dolphins, and I keep saying I want to go swimming with the dolphins.
It's fun.
That's something that's on my to-do list. Go swimming with the dolphins.
It's amazing experience, you know.
Yes.
So I'll be heading there in a few weeks with about 30-plus people, and we'll spend a week together. And unity consciousness and receiving a high state of consciousness samadhi. And maybe another time I could talk a little bit about samadhi. Yes, that's
well, I was just going to ask you, can you give us a short explanation of what samadhi is? I'm not familiar with that word.
Samadhi is an extraordinary state of consciousness. Only, let's see, how can I say it? I've only got a couple minutes here.
That's okay. No, this is my show. You
can do what you want, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, if we think about consciousness, and sure, there's oneness in everything, but people typically open up and awaken to different levels of consciousness at different times. Some people go into different states of enlightenment. Some people Christ consciousness. Some people the ascension. And then you get to the God consciousness, and then the vehicle to get you there is the energy of samadhi. And samadhi, if you wanted to take a look at it later, go online, anyone, it's spelled Samadhi. And it's bestowed by divine grace upon really highly evolved spiritual, beings that are in two legs walking around on the earth. And this energy transforms your consciousness out of any kind of anxiety or illusion or duality into this great, vast oneness with life, this God consciousness. And it is, it's extraordinary. So I'm going to be bringing that in for folks at the beach, and I'm really looking forward to it. We have such a great time. And of course, it's one of those things that my words pale, by comparison of the exact experience.
Yeah.
Exactly. Direct experience is what you want. You can talk all day long, but having that direct experience, of unity with the divine, of God, with this great oneness, the I am, the infinite, that's it, For me, that's it. Giving people the direct experience.
Yes.
So that's what
I agree with you 1,000%. And I say so many times that sometimes I just can't put it into words, the experience of I get lost for words to describe the wonderful experience of that oneness.
I so get it, because
unity.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You were talking about 12th dimensional experiences are greater, right? And we have words from the third dimension.
Right. Yes.
So we do the best we can. And some people do a very good job at it. Very good.
Right. Yes.
Well, Caroline, I've enjoyed speaking with you so much, honey. I really have. I see the hour is up. So thank you, and thank you all of your listeners that have taken their precious time out of their lives to tune in and listen to Caroline and I talk.
Yes. Well, the wonderful thing about Internet radio, even if they didn't catch it live, they can listen using the same link. You can share the same link. They can listen to the replay. So that's the wonderful thing about Internet radio. So
Don't you just love technology?
Yeah,
I do.
Well,
have a great evening, honey.
You too, and have a wonderful weekend. And yes, please email me about the event at the beach, because I definitely want to see if I can make it. That would be wonderful.
That would be so lovely. I would enjoy that very much. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.